हवा को बना लिया दस्तगीर अपना। ये थी मुजिया फातिमा जिनका ताल्लुक चेनाब कॉलेज शोरकोट से है। नाउ वरीशा आमिर फ्रॉम चेनाब कॉलेज चिन्योट is of the opinion, chop their tongues for they speak for justice. Wareesha Amir from Chenab College Jhang.
Mr. President, respected teachers and my dear fellows, the topic under discussion is chop their tongues for they speak for justice is the topic which inspires me to speak because Mr. Arnold, a famous poet, says, what wears out the life of mortal man and numbs the elastic power. It is that repeated shocks again and again exhaust the energies of strongest souls. These shocks are the dictator regimes present in our society. Since centuries, they are sucking the energies of its inhabitants. Regimes of dictators, Mr. President, regimes of dictators. Mr. President, no doubt, Egypt, Syria, Persia, Petra, Rome and Greek splendid dynasties were ruling the world. Have we ever thought? What have they given to the mankind? What is their asset? A few tombs? A few altars to slaughter the men? A few palaces to show their grandeur? If we compare them with Athens, a lone city, only city of the world, in those eras was claiming to have free people, we find other dynasties were splendid in riches. Their wealth was beyond reckoning and immense power, freedom was unknown for their subjects. But what happened? Mr. President, Athenian with a small army won the battle against Persian who were huge in numbers and power. Athenians succeeded because they knew how to protect their freedom. Their tongues were not closed. Mr. President, my imagination takes me to the mighty pharaohs Namrud's dynasty. I can see great Umayyads, Abbasids, Fatimids and Isfahanis are not hidden from me. Ghaznavids, Ghoris, Mughals, Tughlaqs, predecessors of Genghis Khan and Halaku Khan are in front of me. What was their instrument to make the human being slave? What was their arrangements to feed a large army? And why those armies were kept? Mr. President, they dealt with their subjects with only one principle, and that was the principle: chop their tongues for they speak for justice. Mr. President, their tools were swords, spears, arrows, and daggers to cut the necks and chop the tongues. Mr. President, the man with a locked mouth is the easiest creature to govern. During dictator regimes, no one had the courage to speak for the rights of people. Historian on government payroll sing the songs of prosperity, progress, riches and peace during their rule, but the fact is totally different. Freedom of speech takes the Jesus to cross, Mansoor to death and many other persons were forced to kiss the ropes with their bleeding lips. We had paid the price of oppression with the loss of East Pakistan. Worthy President, terrorism, harassment, extremism, barbarism, intimidations are the hallmark of tyranny. Iqbal, the great poet of East, says that new education system has locked the voices of people. There is no one to announce the truth. In this modern age, the age of globalization, we find censor policies by heads of states, by institutions, by kings to prolong their regimes. Today, the sincere, bright journalists and columnists are murdered brutally when money fails to buy their loyalty. Worthy President, social injustice, legal injustice, financial injustice and gender injustice is giving a rise to a silent rebel which will bring a big disaster for community. Worthy President, women, the half sky, as Mao said, are brought up with the advice not to raise your voice. If she will speak, she will become taboo. The young children are taught to keep silent against every kind of harassment. What we are giving to our society and what we are expecting from our society. A society where you have to vote for Makhdooms, Mias, Shahs, Maliks, Chaudhry of your number choice. Mr. President, we are victim at the era where persons like Trump can cross every limitations, kings can throw the bodies of their opponents from the helicopter. But the message of Hassanaki and Jamal Khashoggi is clear. Chop their tongues for they speak for justice. Thank you.